Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now.
Hello you guys and welcome into the building. So today we're talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 15 episode 6. This is the new episode and it was explosive. And we already knew it was going to be explosive right from the beginning because the episode actually starts with some footage from way back, all the way to 2011, you guys, over a decade, where we see Kandi Burruss and Marlo Hampton's relationship and everything they've gone through on the show. I actually feel like they are genuine friends and they do care for each other, and that's probably why it hurts them so much when they do fight. But you guys, then we see some unseen footage, no one has ever seen this, from 2020. Marlo was going over to Kandi's house and Kandi said out of her mouth that Marlo is sweet and kind and that she's misunderstood because of her past history. But anyway, in this footage, Marlo was telling Kandi about the nephew that passed away. It was a very emotional scene. In this scene, Kandi hugged her and comforted her. Then we skip over to last season where they started fighting once again. And, you know, like I said, this really showed that the fight was going to be epic later on the episode. And then we finally are in present time and it's Miss Marlo hanging out with some of her friends. Her girlfriend is asking her what she wants in a man. Marlo is a little bit nervous to date because right now all of her focus is on the kids. But her friends tell her that it's time to find a date. Then Marlo tells them that Courtney is inviting all of the girls to an event and also shares that she's mad at Drew for going around running her mouth to Kenya about what happened between them. But to add to that, Marlo is still mad at Drew for not being straightforward towards Kandi about the incident. Marlo claims that Kandi gave Drew this look, like saying, "Don't bring it up." And Marlo then tells them that the topic of Kandi not acknowledging it just made her automatically think of her nephew. And she's still sad that Kandi didn't do much about her nephew's death, but I'm confused. Like, what exactly did she want Kandi to do? Like, maybe pay for the funeral? I'm not sure. I think she should be more straightforward about what exactly she wanted Kandi to have done. Because even the friends say, you know, he worked at her restaurant, so just as a business person, she should have done more. But Marlo hasn't had the conversation clearly with Kandi yet. Okay, the next scene is Sonia in her house. Again, she lives with the whole family. She's very excited because she's getting a great partnership, but she throws some shade because her brother-in-law quit on her a few weeks ago. And Sonia's sister says that she's still shocked that Ross expressed that he would like it for just him and his wife and kid to be at the house, which totally makes sense as, you know, the man of the household. He wants some privacy. But the sister and even Sonia think that everybody should be at home. Sonia says that it's basically, you know, free nannies and cooks while still having the family. But the sister is very mad and is saying that, you know what, it's not even worth it for Sonia to fight for them because they are leaving regardless. So that confused me. Like, do you want to leave or you don't? Then we move on to Kenya and her friend. That was the same friend that she was hanging out a few episodes ago, Akila. And Kenya is opening up a Kenya Moore hair care spa. That's actually pretty cool. They head over to the space and that it's going to be in, and it's not ready by any means, but Kenya has a lot of ideas, so that's great. That made me really happy to see. But then Kenya and the friend, they start to get into the mess. Before that though, they do talk about dating for a little bit, and Kenya says that she really likes the guy that she's dating, but she doesn't like that it's long distance. But like I said, the mess begins when Kenya starts talking about Marlo. She's saying that Marlo is this, Marlo is that. She tries to bring up Marlo kicking the door, and she even attempts to seemingly blame Marlo for making her kids scared. But like I told you guys last time, screaming at the top of your lungs, cussing, and threatening to call the police was probably much more scarier than the kicking. And then she brings up the jail thing. She starts to tell her friend all that Marlo did in the past. But why is she doing that? That's her past. Would she like it if Marlo went around feeling strangers about her past? And she's claiming that Marlo always plays the victim, but so does Kenya. This was an amazing scene about her opening up the spa. So for her to ruin it by talking about Marlo, that sucked. But let's move on. The next scene is Shereé. She's with her kids, and Cairo is over with the baby. It was so nice to see Shereé with her grandchild, holding the baby, and they're making some ornaments by like putting some clay on the baby's hand so it will like become like a mark. It was really beautiful to see that family scene. We even saw a little bit of emotion from Shereé. And then we move on to Drew, who is also in a family scene. Ralph and the boys are out training for basketball. And then Drew tells Ralph that she doesn't want to be around Marlo anymore. Really, Drew? Again, they talk about the situation, and Drew claims that she doesn't use the S word because, according to her, who's from Chicago, saying the S word means you're promoting that culture, which made no sense to me, but that's her justification for using the word incident. But anyway, Drew is dragging Marlo, saying that she has some trauma and basically calling her dangerous, and even claims that she would beat up Marlo. Really, Drew? Like, come on now. Bye, Drew. You are a bandwagon. Then we see Marlo being with her nephews, and they are reading some positive things about each other that they wrote down, and they share a nice group hug. I like seeing that. But okay, next up is Kandi. She is at home with Todd, who's still writing this movie he's doing. Kandi tells him that the girl who she doesn't like, aka Courtney, invited them to some escape room, and they might get dirty like with the activity, so she doesn't know what to wear. So she FaceTimes Kenya to ask her what she's wearing, but Kenya is actually in the middle of a birthday party that she had for Brooklyn, which is like at the pool. But Kenya, messy Kenya. Keep in mind she's at a kid's birthday party, but she still takes the opportunity to bring up what Drew told her about Marlo, the nephew, and the incident. She's stirring the pot, and of course she's saying it in a negative way, so Kandi is getting upset, and reasonably, because Kandi said that they had already been getting along, her and Marlo, long after the incident. She never brought it up, so she is confused. We finally get to this event. Drew and Courtney are the first ones there. They seem to get along, especially because of the whole cousin thing. Then Marlo arrives. It's a very weird encounter with her and Drew. Marlo says hi, but Drew doesn't even want to say hi back. Marlo goes to the bathroom, and Courtney asks Drew, what's going on? And Drew says, last time I was with this lady, she attacked me. Excuse me, Drew? Attack is a pretty big reach. I thought you were from Chicago. I thought you were gangster. And you think that's an attack? Anyway, the rest of the girls arrive. Kandi is the last one, but she's very upset. Right from when she walked through that door, that energy was bizarre. So she couldn't hold it in anymore, and she says to Marlo, hey Marlo, I have to ask you about what's going on with you, me, and your cousin. So Marlo says, let's go with Drew to the side so we can probably have a better conversation, which is probably for the best than to have the conversation in front with everyone. Marlo then says, please tell me what you heard before I say anything. And Kandi says something about me not bringing flowers to your cousin. She says, well, first of all, that was my nephew. So Marlo explains that, something, when you guys talk about something that has to do with me, no one ever sugarcoats anything. You guys straight out say it. Whore, she slashed, she stabbed, this and that. But when it comes to you, they don't do the things like that. They kind of sugarcoat it. They kind of dance around it. And that's why I blew up on Drew, because of my frustration. That's a good explanation. But then she starts to say that Kandi, it looked like she didn't want to be bothered about the nephew's death when she told her, back when we saw that scene in the beginning. And Kandi is getting very upset, and she pops off because she feels like Marlo is trying to connect the nephew's death with her restaurant. I think it's just a misunderstanding on both of their parts. Marlo, in her confessional, says, I'm not mad because of my nephew. I'm mad at her because she hides things and people help her get away with it. Monyetta sees them talking and arguing, and then she goes up. Monyetta, just go sit down. Matter of fact, Drew should have left too. This conversation should have been between Marlo and Kandi. That's it. But again, Kandi says that, he wasn't even working at my restaurant when he passed away. So Marlo is saying that says a lot about your character, that you would only care about someone who was at the restaurant. And then they start to show pictures of this guy who was working at Kandi's restaurant, who was at Christmas parties. He was a chef. So this guy clearly worked at the restaurant. So Marlo was trying to say that it doesn't matter if he worked there yesterday or if he worked there 10 years ago. It's the fact that he did. But they begin arguing really, really bad because, again, Kandi thinks that she's trying to malign her. So what does attention-seeking Kenya do? She goes up in the middle of it and she grabs Kandi. And Kandi gets extremely pissed. She almost explodes on Kenya herself and says, "Do not grab me. Do not grab me. When I'm trying to go with her, don't grab me." I thought she was going to pop Kenya, to be honest, and honestly, I wouldn't have been mad because it was none of Kenya's business. Kenya has always done that. We saw it at the pillow party. In season 6, she tries to insert herself in things that have absolutely nothing to do with her, and I feel like that conversation should have been Marlo and Kandi. And because of after that, all the other girls started to come in. So then Marlo says, "Go cry now," kind of mimicking her because Kandi does cry when she gets upset. And Kandi says, "The only reason I can't cry is because I can't choke your ass, B." So that Kandi from season 6, that remember Nene told us about, "My man, you talk about my man, that's my man." That Kandi came out. So Kandi walks away and Marlo keeps mimicking her. Outside, Kandi with, her goat voice that she gets like when she's kind of crying and she's like, kind of like stuttering. She's like, "Before we talk about my situation at my restaurant, let's talk about how she was slashing a girl's face." And she said it like that. But baby, the editors were shady. They showed the confessional from last year that we saw in the beginning of the episode where Kandi, out of her mouth, was saying that people shouldn't be defining Marlo for her past because she is nice. So Kandi was a hypocrite in that moment. And Kenya says that Marlo's character went out the door also when she was stabbing people's faces. Drew, messy wannabe actress Drew, was also saying that Marlo can't keep her hands to herself and that she's dangerous, that she's aggressive. But that was a lie, again, because the editor showed the entire fight where Marlo had her hands to herself behind her back. Kandi even said she didn't feel threatened by Marlo. So Drew doing all this is the most. Like, don't call her aggressive like that. She even tries to explain again her logic about not saying the word. But even the rest of the group didn't understand what she was trying to say. So outside, Kenya and Drew are also being very childish by saying how they would beat up Marlo, like hit her throat or whatever. That was so messed up. And then Monyetta, Kenya, and Drew leave on their car like a scene of Mean Girls. And the others stay and have some fun. So that was good. And that was the end of the episode, you guys. I'm going to be honest, the ending really upset me. Kandi bringing up her past, I understand when you're really mad at someone, you bring up the worst thing you can think of them in the moment. I give her a pass. But for Kenya to be saying that Marlo's character went out the window when that happened, Kenya, that was over 23 years ago, and everybody has a past. You definitely have a past. You didn't like it when Marlo said that your mom left you because that was your past and it hurt. And I feel bad for Marlo because a lot of the fans, and I'm not scared to say it, I'm not a sheep. I don't have to think like the Mean Girls. I have my own thoughts. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like what the fans have done to Marlo either. There's not a single thing that Marlo could do. She could be with the disciples behind her and people would still call her out if she does something good, if she does something bad. They always want to make her the problem. Now, Drew, she is clearly trying to be Kenya and Kandi's lapdog, and it's honestly embarrassing. Like, I don't want to see Drew anymore. She really upset me with this. And don't get me wrong, Marlo has done a lot of bad things. As a matter of fact, I even think that her argument for the nephew is making no sense. But to go back for Kenya to be doing that again with the past, you were trying to be her friend the season before she became a housewife. Then she became a housewife and all of a sudden, you didn't like her. That's very interesting. So you guys, that was the episode. Like I said, very explosive towards the end. But you guys, let me know what were your thoughts, what were your opinions about the fight and about everything that happened. So let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Even if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know. And I'll catch you guys next time. You have a great one. Bye.